Music is one of the pillars of my life, and I think that actually applies to a lot of people. It's the international communicator, something that unifies us all without us even realizing half the time. That it ebbs and flows through our veins, and even the softest sounds can be turned into something powerful or mean something more. Hi, I'm Alicia X Life. I've been a violinist for 18 years, going into 19 years now, so longer than a lot of you have been alive. So this video is a breakdown of Yunjin's song done in Shunhe's story quest / the Interlude Archon quest. I just finished playing it, and I am going to show you my initial reaction to hearing the song, and then after that, we're going to be just doing a music breakdown right now. I really hope you hit the subscribe button underneath the video. It would mean a lot to me, and it also would mean a lot to me if you guys could let me know in the comments what you think, because I normally don't do music breakdowns at all, and the last time I did one for Genshin was actually during one of the hardest times of my life. I lost my best friend. Though this is a little bit dark, and I'm sorry for that, I just kind of wanted to bring it up because he means a lot to me. So during that time, I didn't know what content to make anymore. I couldn't put on a happy face, and I wanted to be myself and be true to myself. If I'm not okay, I don't want to pretend I'm okay. So I made a 30-minute long video of me just talking about Dragonspine's music and sitting there quietly and just talking about it here and there while crying sometimes. And I had some amazing community members and amazing people in general in my life who made me realize that even though a part of me is now gone, that I'm never truly alone. And it was done through the power of music and just being together. So thank you to those of you guys who were there for that. Oh, sorry, that was a really deep note to start this on, but let's just get into the video. Oh, she's so beautiful. The way she did her pose. Whoa! Oh my god! Oh, her voice is so beautiful, it's so strong, and oh, the way it resonates when she holds notes is so gorgeous! Oh my god!
神女披冠到这里本该接近尾声，但今日我再添一笔，唱与诸位听。
Oh my god! This is amazing! Wow!
第十鹤归，茫茫天地无依靠，孤身离去。今日再会，新朋旧友坐满堂，共聚此时。
That was amazing! That was incredible!
What did you think? Personally, I thought I sang rather well.
I am so shook. Oh, that was so good. Oh, the way the story built the style of the art the transitions between it, the emotion it evoked from her singing when she held notes and then they diminished and then they like, oh god. Oh god, and then the fortissimo she used when like going into the second act of the song was just, oh my god. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. I'm sorry, I cry really easily, okay? It's just, music makes me really emotional. I've been a violinist for 18 years, so like, music gets to me really, really easily. Like I've been playing violin for as long as a lot of you guys have been alive, you know? Like, music really gets to me. I went to music school, so like, yeah. Oh my god. It was so good. And the way her hands moved and the motion, oh. So like in India, there's like these plays called Kathakali, and it actually has very similar movements when they perform on stage. It's done with a series of like eye glances and hand motions, and they move very slowly and very precisely. And it's like very similar to like the hand motion they made in one of those movements was the exact same hand motion we make in Kathakali, which is like super cool to me. So it's like, wow, it's just, and it's like a very traditional, like play sort of in India. Usually you're looking like southern India. It's very cool. Okay, so a few things to notice when we listen through this, okay? For those of you guys who might not even know of Chinese opera, personally, I wasn't familiar with it, except for a few instances where I've been shown it before, but I never listened to it in my own time or studied it at all until my Chinese audience on Bilibili was like, here's a bunch of songs, we heard you liked it. So I listened to a lot of it, and when listening to it and watching it being performed, I learned so much so quickly. And I can tell you about a lot of the technical aspects because I myself am musically trained, so let's do it. Okay, so just starting off, one thing I learned very quickly when listening to Peking opera was that the mouth moves only slightly. A lot of the time it's held in positions, and typically when we sing in like North America and just globally more so, in our styles of singing, it's very prominent. Our mouths exaggerate almost. That way our tongues are able to come forth more. That way our vocal cords have less tension, more air can pass through, and notes have more like gravitas, and they have more substance coming out. To do what this sound is in particular, it's a closed mouth and the tongue itself shifts. That way you're able to create these higher notes. But in order to do that without throwing out your throat, you actually don't tense and do what we call head singing in North America. Head singing is where you don't give enough air and support for your note, so you start to sing high pitched, but it's straining. In head singing, it sounds like this. There's less air, less support, and the vocal cords get strained. So I don't like doing this often, but I'll do it for the example. I love you. I love you. Right? No support, nothing there. It's just high, right? How we do it traditionally here is that we diaphragm, tongue outwards, exaggerated mouth, almost enough to be able to support the note and aim backwards, right? You go, I love you, I love you, right? Like there's a lot more support, a lot more weight put behind it so that it's not airy and not as strained. And that's a common mistake a lot of singers make. But in this, you're not even able to do that. You're intentionally closing the mouth. You're intentionally keeping the mouth smaller, not elongated, not exaggerated, especially in stage performances like opera. In global, not in China, you're doing larger than life motions. Like you are opening your mouth, you're giving life, you're breathing fire to the note. And here it's the passion behind the note has this conservatory way, this way that it's done through motion of action, less through the vocal itself, and it's brought to these higher pitches and slurred and brought into another note. The technical control to do that is so beyond anything I could ever do, to be honest. And the best part is I love that MiHoYo keeps in their sound design of the song. They kept the breath sounds. I love hearing breath sounds in performances. I love knowing when an artist is pushing a note into the next and then breathing to go into their next. It ebbs and flows. She did it right here. You can hear the little into her next part. Ready? So we'll go back to, like, it was right before the purple stuff. Yep, here we go. You can hear the breath. Right? I breathed with it to make it louder, but I'll do it one time without breathing. There you go. Like, it's beautiful. Oh, it's the technicality of her vocals is so perfect. So this is something called an offbeat, okay? This is something that's done in a lot of music. This is an international thing. An offbeat is where you have, like, dun, 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 dun. And the reason why that feels so, like, cool, so unique, is that it's done not on the first beat of a 4 set of notes. It's done on the second beat. So it's like that, like, right? But it's done in this very elongated way, like a slower time signature. It's kind of just going for this very, like, it's like the notes go da, she goes like, right? It's like it's speaking to one another in that way, because since she's taking the reins, she's taking the second note, right? The music is taking the reins. The music is commanding. The bass line is commanding, da da, right? And she's here going da, like it's speaking back. It's speaking back and creating a rapport with the bass, with the bass line, which is this beautiful, thick violin, boisterous violin, and even a little electric guitar in there, which is pretty cool. It's a little crunchy in the background. I like it. I actually recorded this video already, and I said no, it wasn't good enough. I was talking too much. But there's an erhu in this that's playing. It's this beautiful instrument that's not a violin, and I fangirled completely. I don't know if I want to add that into the video or not yet, but I spent like 20 minutes just talking about the erhu, because, like, I want to play one so badly. It's basically, it sounds a lot like a violin, but it's a traditional Chinese instrument, and it still gets used today in their music, and it's super freaking cool. It's played upright. It plays like these glissando notes that, like, we can hit on violins, sure, but, like, the bow technicality we have to do to hit what they can just do naturally is insane. Like, it's so cool. A little bit of fangirl moment. It's a really cool Chinese instrument. It's super cool. Anywho. It's so cool how that's tonal note, right? And then to the common ear, right? To the common ear, you might think it sounds nasally, right? That's the terminology we use a lot of the time in North America when we hear a note that's done that has that sound. That's nasally because it's sung through the face, right? The facial muscles are contracting to create the sound. This for them is done with the roof of their mouth conjunction. You can hear the tongue's placement to curve the note to create this happening. And that's how it's also done within India as well. It's the same concept of the tongue changing the note dramatically, and the air being still supplied by the diaphragm, being pushed out and given the support it's needing, it's craving, but done with the tongue, the roof of the mouth, in conjunction with each other. Thus, you're able to keep your lips pursed almost. You can keep them in almost any position because it's less about the lips, it's more about the tongue. Oh, that guitar goes hard. So the dun 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 dun. I'm literally just doing exactly what I complained about, which is like singing with tense vocal cords and doing it through my head singing, but it's okay. Whatever. I'm not gonna sing flat out right now. So basically, at this point where she's going through like her run of notes, right? It's done, like it's paced, it's powerful. Each is done with purpose. There's purpose. Nothing feels like it's lulling and soothing. This is, I take a stride. There's a stride in my step. There's purpose. And that is to accentuate the feeling. And it's one thing for this to be isolated, but we have the visual going with it. And that's really cool and all. And I would talk more about like the visual breakdown, the story breakdown. But I feel like the song itself, for its technical reasons, needs to be really focused on too. But like, let's take a look, right? And you can hear this too when the note begins. It goes ba, like it hits and it fades. It's a diminuendo is the term for it. It's ba ba. The instruments do it. She even does it when singing. It's both. It's a conversation between the instruments and her vocals. A lot of the time in orchestras, in songs, you have different styles of conversations, I like to call it. You have those who march together are strong together. That is what we consider concert orchestras. Those who go, who lift their bows, and you feel the vibrations linger in the air. There's life to the piece long after it's died, because the note hangs and it holds, and it will not let you out of its grips, right? They march together, they storm together, they conquer together. That is a concert orchestra. Then, of course, there's also soft pieces and soft interludes for concert orchestras, especially if you have a three-part piece, right? You always have like the second part, and it's, whatever. Moving on. And that also still speaks to my fact, actually, because even in that part, I'm going to get on a tangent if I talk about concert orchestras. That's why I specialize in concert orchestra, if you're wondering. So that's why I'm like, oh my god, dial it back. So from there, let's talk about main at hand, which would be basically we go from that and we move into our next part, which is a singer-based style of song, right? Those are songs versus pieces. And when you have pieces, you have movements, right, which are the different parts. In songs, you have parts. That's the difference between the two of them, just so I can make that clear distinction. But in songs, you usually have the vocalist being your focus, right? The vocalist is always your focus in a lot of songs, especially in pop songs. And everything else is accompanying. Everything else helps emphasize the vocals. They're there to create moments, to create breakdowns, to create things that help accentuate vocals, right? Once in a while, like especially metal songs and stuff like that, you have breakdowns and stuff that focus heavily on instrumentation. And instrumentation try to create the vibe for the vocals as well. But in this, it is different. You would think it focuses on the vocals. You would think that, but it's a conversation. It is the music, the arhu, and the violins, the deep brass, the deep bass, the crunching of the guitar, speaking a conversation, and her response, her trying to take control of the conversation, similar to how jazz is performed. Actually, jazz is a conversational, but rather than being like this, where it's spoken, where it's dictated, in jazz it's actually stern. In jazz it's actually an argument, I guess is the best way to put it. Jazz is an argument. It's fighting. It's passion. It's pulling and pushing and pulling and pushing. Like you feel like you're grasping for your moment to shine. And it's not about one person being the focus or another person being the focus. It's about everyone taking their moment and seizing control. Versus this, which is, we are speaking a conversation. Hear my story, not only from my words, but from the instrumentation. So you can even hear there is the arhu went ham, right? It was doing its own thing, not even close to what the vocals were doing. It actually did what the vocals did before the vocals did it. Listen to it one more time. You can hear it. It literally did it before she popped off, the arhu popped off. And then when the Arhu was already holding the note, she hits the same note and joins in. She joins in on it, and they speak in a unison together. And then the Arhu is taking the back seat. It's going na 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 na. Right? It's like it's just chilling. It's just staying back. And meanwhile, she gets to have her moment to shine. This is her moment. The heartache, the pain, the feeling of being alone, the isolation, and the others taking a back seat. This is no longer about everyone being unified. This is now her isolation being spoken into this moment. And you could hear almost as if the Arhu is crying its call back. It's crying out with those tones, the shift. It feels almost like yeah, I guess it's like a wailing almost, right? Like when you're crying so hard, it's like a wail. Like you make that higher sound. It's coming and it builds up and it cries out in that moment. You can hear it again. It cries out. And then it pulls away as if trying to hold it back. And you can feel that in the next part. And that would be the end of a movement. Now, this is where an interlude happens. This is where she is able to speak and perform a line or something that segues into our next part. It keeps us entranced, though. The reason why our brains lean in for moments like this, the reason why we focus so much more during a moment like this, is not only because of the visual. It's similar to speech. When we're talking, right? When someone's yelling, it's like, bah, 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 right? We're like, okay, yeah, whatever. But when we hear someone whisper, our brains feel the curiosity. We're like, what are they talking about? What is that? And we want to hear it so much more. We lean in, we listen. And that's what happens here. We go from the swelling and the buildup of instruments and the payoff to this. A simple piano and a spoken word. Where now we are so much more intrigued than before. Our attention is being drawn in without it being powerful, creating a juxtaposition for the next movement.
神女披冠到这里本该接近尾声，但今日我再添一笔，唱与诸位听。
And then the progression, da 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 da. It's the power in the stride is what we like to call that. The power in a stride. It's not like a waltz where it's deliberate steps. It's a stride, meaning there is this dipping motion into your next movement. When you stride, it's not leveled. Waltzing is leveled. Your shoulders are squared. You're moving precisely. This is a stride where you dip with power as your knees bend to take the next step. It's bending. It's moving forward. And that's the power of a third movement. Just a heads up, by the way, that's a violin section that just did that part where you hear the da-da-da-da-da. That part, that was violin section, which is really cool. Just a heads up. The Arhu's still going off. It's doing its own thing over there, but the violin section's going hard too. Want to shout out to my violin players. I know what's up. I hear the violin section 1 and 2 going hard in the paint. I respect it. Oh, the way the note holds, it just feels so satisfying to the ear. I love that. I did this in my first recording where I forgot to talk about the vocals. I talked about something in particular that Mihoyo does. I wanted to bring this up again because I'm probably cutting out the previous 20-30 minute segment I made because it's I talked about only the music. So I'm gonna make sure I mention this part though, because this was pretty important, is that Mihoyo's orchestra and the musical stylings that they create within their pieces actually have a very similar thematic, the way they build it. to explain this to you, I can make the comparisons to other pieces as well if you want to look them up, is that they do a 3-movement piece always, and they might not appear to be a 3-movement, but they try to mimic that of a 3-movement within a short time frame. Pretty cool stuff. One thing that they do especially is the absence of instrumentation. The absence of instrumentation is a technique that gets used a lot within either ballads, within sadder music, anything that makes you want to evoke emotion beyond that of a march. Like, actually, a good example would be any piece that has, oh, actually, no, 3 notches back. A better way to explain this is if you actually take a look at things like even Dragonspine's OST, if you look at things like any of Honkai's music, actually, every single Honkai piece does this in particular. Fun. Even if you listen to Fallen Rosemary, that does the same thing I'm going to be talking about right now. Seilei's Sarcasm Nyx song is also a great example of that too. I did a music breakdown of that if you want to watch that too. I even talk about bow holds and the way that they held the bow, and I can hear it. It's pretty fun if you want to hear me get super nerdy and technical. I use a lot of technical stuff. Anywho, basically, it's I lost my train of thought. I got so distracted. The absence of sound. So what happens is that Mihoyo intentionally does it so that you have, like, of course, the vocals being important here, but you don't even have the strong crunch or the flirtation of other instruments. Here, like, just hear it out. Hear it out. We have one elongated note just filling in the space, and the cymbal tapping and slowing down. It's just her isolated vocal basically at this moment, right? It's just her. And the reason being is that they choose the absence of instrumentation so that when they build, it's satisfying. There's a payoff. Even here, there's no payoff. Ready for this? That's the second layer of building. Dun, 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 right? You're getting this beautiful, vibrant, powerful bass coming in. Dun, dun, right? And then we have our higher instrumentation coming in, the trills coming in, the flirtation of different instruments popping its head in, flurries of sound, right? We hear all these things starting to fill in that weren't actually fully introduced besides glimmers earlier. Now we're being more fully introduced to these concepts. That way it's not jarring when they all come in at once. This is a very, very smart musical direction. And now when you add all of these sounds together during this part, right? This is the second build-up, like the additional build-up into the part of payoff, right? So as this is building up, right? They have all these sounds, like the bass is coming back, everything's coming together. It swells into our payoff. Still payoff, still ready? Payoff's coming now? Coming up. Payoff. And how do you know that's the payoff? It's because 1, it's trying to evoke emotion, and 2, the Arhu came back. Where did that boy go? It went somewhere, but now it's back, right? It's because we're at the payoff. They have to speak to each other, so. Then we go into the isolation of sound, which is where they take away instruments. Yeah, I mentioned that a little bit earlier on. But yeah, so that's basically me going through a musical breakdown of this piece. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so sorry for my bad singing for some of the parts. I do actually love singing. It's just that I didn't expect myself to try to sing notes at this time, so I apologize for not killing it, you know? I'll hopefully do a song cover sometime soon so you guys can hear me like actually go ham, you know, go hard at the paint. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys later. Make sure to love yourself, love the people around you, and always drink water. Make sure to love yourself as much as I love Kazuha and Xiao. See you guys in the next video. And also, if you made it through the video for this long, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoy my music breakdowns. I would love to do more of them. If you would be interested in me doing more technical terms and terminology, I'm more than willing to do that. I just don't know if you guys would be interested in that. So please let me know in the comments if you're willing for me to get more nerdy about it, because I'd be more than happy to. I don't want people to feel like intimidated by music by any means. So let me know. I'm down to teach you guys more stuff next time, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye, everybody. Bye.